Mark Twain once said, maybe history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And I think that as we are here today to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Rome, we should listen closely to the echoes of history and take this lesson to heart. Because the impact of World War II was huge. For 2 generations, families in every corner of Italy and of Europe knew the pain of losing someone. And for this reason, in order to preserve and spread the values of freedom and democracy, even today, the role of museums is very, very important. And among the activities that we are carrying out as Freedom for Italy, we are also trying to create a network of museums that can work together to preserve this memory. And as director of the Tuskegee Airmen Museum, I'm trying to preserve the memory and the legacy of these pilots in a context that is still to be discovered, is still evolving. Because, as you know, today's Italy comes with 3,000 years of history, and still today, if we look closely, Italy of World War II still exists because we have museums, war cemeteries, places where the battles took place, and these places are today still preserved, are still protected. But there is an important place. There is an important place in Italy, in the town where I live, on the Adriatic coast of Italy, 200 miles east of Rome. There is an important place where history has been overlooked. This is a building, like the story behind it, that needs to be preserved, because this is the operational center of the Ramitelli airfield. And this location is now surrounded by fields, and this is where the Tuskegee Airmen took off in their P-51 Red Tails, and they escorted American bombers over Europe. And thanks to their bravery, to their courage, thousands of bombing missions were successful. And so they give an extraordinary example of courage, even for the victory of World War II. This exact spot represents the beginning of a movement, the fight for equality, and the winning of a war, or should I say, the winning of 2 wars, because these pilots were fighting 2 wars against Nazism and fascism, and another war, another battle against discrimination and segregation. And for me, walking in these dusty streets today, I think we have a problem. Okay, you can see in these photos the Ramitelli airfield in 1944 and in 2024, so today. For me, walking in these streets, as I usually do, is like going to a shrink where a group of aviators, where a group of pioneers have become legendary not only in American history, but also in Italian history. And the Tuskegee Airmen, as I said, were the pilots of the 332nd Fighter Group. They served in this airfield, and they were segregated. They were separate from the other pilots, but due in part to their exemplary performance, due in part to their missions, on July 26, 1948, President Harry Truman signed the Executive Order 9981, ending segregation in the armed forces. So, in addition to their combat achievements, the Tuskegee Airmen played a significant role also in breaking down racial barriers, not only in military, not only in aviation, but in American society. As you know, African Americans took part in every single war. of American history. But in the 1940s and 50s, the segregation was very, very strong, not only in American aviation, in American army, but also in American society. So the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen is something that we have to preserve in order to preserve the ideals of freedom, of democracy, and of equality. So, what are we doing in my little town, in the town of Campomarino, to preserve this legacy, to preserve this memory? On July the 10th, 2023, the World War II Foundation, it's an American foundation, the World War II Foundation went in Campomarino and they shoot a documentary. The documentary is The Tuskegee Airmen Return to Ramitelli. And this movie tells the story of Colette Holt. Colette Holt is the daughter of Coleman Holt, a pilot of the 332nd Fighter Group. These are the photos of the world premiere, which took place on February the 9, 2023, at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington. On July 16, 2023, the municipality of Campomarino inaugurated a monument dedicated to the Tuskegee Airmen in the presence of the Italian and American institutions, diplomats for American embassy, also with the US military officers. And on the same day, my office, my museum, the museum of which I'm the director, the Tuskegee Airmen Museum, unveiled a mural. You can see the mural in this photo. This mural is dedicated to Benjamin O. Davis. Benjamin O. Davis was the commander of the 332nd Fighter Group, the commander of the Tuskegee Airmen, and he was the first African American to become a general in the history of American aviation. His father, Benjamin Davis Sr., was the first black general in American military. So these pilots are now heroes in America, but they are still unknown in Italy, in my town, and they served in my town. So my mission is to celebrate and preserve their memory. And the last commemoration was a couple of days ago, on May 27, when we unveiled two commemorative plaques on the airport runway and another plaque in the house where Colonel Benjamin Davis lived in 1944 and 1945. And also a delegation of Aviano USAF Air Base was present, and we had this commemoration with 60 students from local schools, because I think that this story, that it's not just a story of war, it's a story of rights, it's a story of equality, it's a story that we have to give as a present that we can give for young generations. We have to involve young generations. And however, these are some photos of the Tuskegee Airmen Museum. This is a little museum that I created 4 years ago in the local library, in the public library of Campomarino. This is the only Italian museum dedicated to the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm the director of this museum, and my goal, as I said, is to invite and involve schools and young generation to raise awareness of the history of the Tuskegee Airmen and to spread the ideas of freedom, democracy, and equality. All these initiatives, the events that I talked about, also the memory of the aviation bases in the region of Molise, are organized and coordinated by our museum, by the Tuskegee Airmen Museum in Campomarino. So, in my opinion, the role of a museum, as I said, is of enormous, of huge importance in preserving the memory and involving a new generation. In this way, the community of Campomarino, the community of Ramitelli, is trying to preserve the legacy of the 15th American Air Force, of the Desert Air Force, of the Balkan Air Force, and in particular of the Tuskegee Airmen. Because, as I said, this is a story that we intend to commemorate for a long time to come. Also because my town is a touristic place. We have wonderful sea, wonderful beaches, we have a lot of wine production. So my dream is to create a larger museum in the building that I showed before, in order to create also something important for the economy, for the tourism of the territory. You know, Molise is a very little region. In Italy we say la regione che non esiste. Molise region doesn't exist because nobody knows about Molise. But I think that with this story we can give something important also for our economy. So my museum, the Tuskegee Airmen Museum, is trying to do this, is trying to preserve the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. Thank you.